Hey everybody, welcome to Own Your Story podcast and Facebook Live, the 7th episode. So today I have Harrison here with me. So I met Harrison here at work and well, we have a lot in common, right? Like even though we live our life in different continents across the world, but our experience and our spiritual journey has a lot of parallel.
Yeah, sure.
And it's interesting that we have so much in common and like we get each other, although like we come from very, very different background. So what I think is very interesting about you is like how you overcome depression and you came across like the spiritual teaching and beliefs. So would you like to share with everyone like what you went through during your high school about depression and how did you get out of it?
Yeah, sure. So starting, I first kind of noticed that it was a problem for me in, it was grade 12 and I just stopped going to school and I just stayed home and kind of laid in bed all day. And before then I kind of thought of mental illness as like, I don't know. I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't really think that, it's just kind of like snap out of it. But then it kind of hit me and I realized like, wow, there's actually like something wrong here. There's something that I really feel like I need to fix. And that really, I spent months, like I didn't go to school. I almost failed high school twice. And that kind of stuck with me, up and down for a few years.
Right. Yeah. So after college, right? And in the first year of your college, you drop out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened there?
You mean like afterwards, or how I ended up dropping out?
Yeah, it's like a dropout, and then I know that you have a really, really cool cycling trip from Vancouver to Los Angeles. So between that, what happened? What makes you go on such an extreme, I would call it quite extreme road trip?
Yeah. So I got to a point, after I dropped out of school, there were a lot of feelings of like failure, and I kind of let those sit around. I wasn't doing anything about it. And so that sort of spiraled out of control downward. And I hit like a rock bottom point, similar to how you talk about in your book. A point where I felt like life wasn't worth living unless I made something out of it that I enjoy, that I want to do, that I want to be doing. So I kind of just said screw it to all the things that I was doing for other people, ideas that and I just said, what do I want to do? And so go on a crazy adventure. So I decided I'll take my bicycle across the US to see my friend.
All right.
Simple as that.
So you mentioned that you used to have suicidal thoughts as well. Is it? Like, how do you deal with that? Because like it's a big issue now. It's like mental illness and suicidal. Yeah. So what's the conversation in your head and how do you turn it around?
So for me, I often thought about suicide. I never felt like I was close to doing it. Yeah. And I think I owe that to not being afraid of those thoughts, not trying to push them away. Yeah. Just, observing them, being with them, and questioning, why do I feel like this? What's really the cause of this? Because somewhere deep inside me, there's always this knowing that it's not always going to be like this. Yeah. Like there is a way out of this, and I'm going to find it. Yeah. And just allowing them to be, watching them, be curious about them, and that kind of takes the power out of it, I think. Yeah.
All right. So Harrison did a very, very cool road trip all the way from Vancouver to Los Angeles on a bike ride, a cycling trip for 2 months. So how was this 2 months like? And how do you live through every day on the bike and well, not knowing where you would end up on that day? How was it like?
That was that was incredibly exciting times. And I'd never done anything like that before. I had no plans. I just flew with my bicycle, and it was like, you know, if the ocean's on this side, I'm going the right way.
All right.
It was just like that.
Do you have a map?
Sometimes.
All right.
But if I didn't, you know, I just had to keep the water on this side and pedal the bicycle.
All right.
So it was very free, and I would just sleep anywhere that I would choose, which was awesome too. It was incredibly exhilarating. The days were so long.
Yeah.
And there were weeks at a time where I would have like the best day of my life, and then the next day would top that constantly.
All right. So it's like every day is you're like, all right, I know this. I used to write about this sentence in my book. It's like every day you have the ability to create the best day of your life. Yeah,
and it was happening. Every day was the best day of my life. It was just
it's like
wow.
I can share that experience or that kind of feeling, because like that's what happened to us when we travel. It's like everything is new and our senses come alive, and it's just every day we are exploring, and sometimes we lost that in our life, right? Day to day, when it becomes routine, we lost that kind of excitement.
Yeah, and it was like, especially at this time, it was like a really cathartic release for me, because I'd spent so long, struggling with that, and then finally, it's like, whoa, I'm doing something that I want to do. It's like a new feeling.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right?
All right. Yeah, definitely. So what's the biggest thing you learned about yourself from these 2 months of road trip?
Wow. Probably that I don't need a plan.
Right.
And, having a goal is way more important than having a plan.
Right.
Like having somewhere you want to go is a lot more powerful than having a plan to get there.
All right.
And because I just had a destination, I was just
some people say that when you have a why, you will figure out the how, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like another really important thing is anytime I'd look at the map and look at how far I was going, I would get like a little bit of anxiety. It's like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that.
All right, so it's like a long way to go.
Long, and like 7 hours pedaling a bicycle is a long day. And when you look at that, you're like, I have to do that, 30 more times. It's just like, but if you just like, I actually stopped looking at it. I wouldn't, and I would just not even think about it and just get up and start turning the pedals, and it was incredible.
I see. Do you have like a timeline in your head that's like how many days are you going to spend on the road, or it's just like I do my best and let's see when I can get at the end of it?
Yeah, I wasn't in much of I wasn't in a hurry at all. And then I ended up meeting these two guys from the Bay Area. We ran into a campsite at the same time and really clicked together. And they had like a bit of an itinerary. So that was kind of like, get me up to speed a little bit, start pushing myself, pushing the boundaries. And we were doing like 50 miles a day roughly, which is a pretty solid distance. And then back to my own. After that, I was up to that speed. Yeah, then I was kind of pushing myself to see how fast.
All right. Yeah, and then from my conversation with Harrison last time, so after this bike trip, he realized that he can do anything in the world, right? And then very interestingly, you fall back into depression right after that. Yeah, so what happened here?
Yeah, so I had this kind of big awakening experience. Just that whole thing was a lot of growth, and coming back to I realized that whatever I set my mind on, I could do as long as I was willing to, take the steps to get there. And coming back, there's this like existential crisis when you face the blank page. As a writer, you know this, but and also like when you face the blank page of your life, it's like
it's like you can do anything in the world, but you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's too vast and you couldn't pin the one thing.
Yeah, it's like what to do first, and at first there was this really kind of powerful feeling, this creative feeling of like, well, I spent, it was just 2 months on my bicycle, but I got so good at riding my bicycle. I spent every day, all day on it, and it was like, wow, I almost like not mastered, but like became very good at this skill in such a short time. It's like, what if I did that, like playing the guitar and, doing jujitsu, and it's like, and what if I did that for a year? It's like, wow, the possibility, like there's time in life to do all the things that we want to do to a big degree, but then it's like, what to start with? Yeah. Like, what do I do next? And kind of put the whole pressure of the rest of my life on that next decision. When it doesn't matter, like really what order you do it in. And then I felt, and my problem was I didn't act. I didn't start moving forward, and sat there with that, that crisis, and never resolved it, never started moving through that, or not for some time, until I kind of hit rock bottom again, and then decided, okay, I love adventure. I know that now 100%.
All right.
And I know that I can do it better next time. And that's eventually what brought me here.
All right. So you started this journey in Asia 7 months ago, right? 7 months ago. So Harrison started at India or Nepal, right? Nepal, and then he went to India, and Malaysia is Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia is your fourth country. So, like, one thing you mentioned to me, which is quite impactful, is your Vipassana meditation when you were in Sri Lanka. You mentioned that like it's one of your like most profound moment in your life, most transformative.
I can say that was easily the most transformative experience of my life.
All right. So can you tell us about like what is it and how does it change your life?
So Vipassana meditation, for anyone who's curious, it's they have these retreats and they're silent, so there's no speaking. Typically they're 10 days, but this one in Sri Lanka was 4 days, and you go through 14 hours of meditation each day. So it's very intense.
14 hours.
14 hours.
That's more than half a day.
That's meditation. You wake up at 4:30 and you basically meditate. You have a small break and you just go and nap. And you nap after breakfast and after lunch, because it's so challenging. Like, it's really hard. You're just sitting there, but it's exhausting too. And you do that for 4 days or the 10 days, and the teacher kind of walks you through the meditation. They talk a little bit about what it is, what's going on in your body, and the rest of it you're just kind of left to sit or walk.
So how's the experience like not talking to anyone for 4 days?
What's funny is I'm kind of introverted, or have periods where I'm very introverted and keep to myself. So I didn't find that difficult at all. I actually found it very comfortable, and at the end of the retreat, when we break the noble silence, and everyone's just buzzing and chatting, and people come over and start talking to me, and I'm like,
you wish there's more silence.
I kind of prefer how it was before. There's nothing to say.
So in that space, when you were alone, I would say solitude for such a long period, and I would guess it's very deep. How was it like in that space?
There was meaning in everything. You become very kind of in tune with yourself, and everything that you notice is just speaking to you in a way, because it's this dialogue like with yourself, because all the people around you, like you don't make eye contact with each other. Occasionally you have to interact, if you walk into a door at the same time or something, but you just kind of like whoop, And everything is this dialogue, not with other people, just with yourself. And that takes many forms. It takes form of the thoughts in your head and, the environment around you, everything. And you become very aware of that and in tune with it.
I see. So what's the transformation? So after that, what changed?
Yeah, so I can pinpoint like a climactic experience that happened there, where I was going feeling a ton of pain, and like really, really hurting, and there's this cow outside.
Cow.
And cows are sensitive animals.
Yeah.
I'm in so much pain, I'm screaming in my head, just and this cow starts mooing, like it's in pain too. It's like,
okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think the energy is sort of connected.
Yeah, and I have this feeling in my head, like I'm screaming so loud that any being on this planet could hear me.
So it's an internal screaming. You're not making any sound, but it's an internal.
Yeah, just internal screaming, and and I had this like dialogue in my head. I heard this voice that's like, I can't help you if you don't try. And I start saying like, I can't do it. I can't try. Like, I don't think I can do it. And this voice is kind of like, it doesn't matter whether you think you can do it, just try. That's all you have to do, try. And so, I'd been spending hours trying to find a spot on the cushion that's comfortable, but you can't get away from the pain. So
it's physical pain.
Yeah, physical, knees, hips, back, like just so much pain from sitting.
Yeah. And
so I said, okay, I'm going to try it, cross my legs again and sit straight up. And it's just burning, like really hurting. And this scream is like intensifying, and the cow is mooing louder. And it reaches this kind of climax. I'm feeling like something's going to break, and it just washes through. And I'm just completely overcome with love, and the scream in my head turns to, the pain is gone. I'm still feeling it, but it's not hurting me anymore.
I see.
And this scream of just turns into screaming, I love you, not at anything in particular, just out.
So this is an internal screaming.
Yeah. I was not screaming in the meditation room.
I see. That's very profound.
And tears just and snot covering my shirt, and like just release.
So after that, it's like you have a new sense of self.
Yeah, new sense of self. And one of the realizations that came with that was the thought, this hurts, is what hurts. It's not the pain.
Right. It's the thoughts that hurts.
It's the thought that causes us to feel the pain. It's not like thinking that, just feeling the pain physically doesn't hurt. It's when we say, this hurts. This is painful. That's what hurts.
I see. Yeah. So it's our mind that brings us pain. It's not physical. It's not our body, but it's our mind.
And not like the body sensations are just that. They're just sensations, and they don't need to dictate what we do. We don't need to be a slave to them.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, so after that you come to Malaysia, and you have been here 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So Harrison is going to Chiang Mai next week. So that will be your next journey on this next destination in this journey. Yeah. So what's your plan in long term, like the goal that you have right now, with all the things that you know, all the things that you've done?
Yeah. So it's hard. I can kind of look at it from like where it's coming and guess where it's going.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly at this point. it's very much being created constantly, and old ideas are dying off and new ones are taking the place. But right now, on a basic level, writing to pay the bills, and then creating a system for people with depression, early childhood trauma, PTSD, to reconnect with themselves.
How do you create that connections?
So there's a lot of different ways. And I don't think the connection needs to be really created. It's what's in the way of the connection that needs to be broken down and released and expressed.
Right.
Big times. A lot of it is like emotional barriers, feelings of doubt, feelings of unworthiness, not deserving it. And just finding an artistic expression for that can be good for a lot of people. Getting people in touch with their feelings and actually feeling their feelings rather than running from them, which is a big source of addiction too. So that's all wrapped up in the picture. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's been my experience, and I've experienced such a profound shift from being completely stuck, not moving in life, and really not happy, to feeling purposeful, meaningful, joyful existence. And I'd like to share that with people.
So from your life journey so far, your life story basically, so from this entire story, what is the most important message that you want people to take away?
This is a message that I also tell myself often a lot, that's appropriate for me at this point in my journey, but just that, we could all remind ourselves of every day, is that everything is going to be okay. All
right. Simple and useful, impactful.
Yeah. It's just don't sweat
and
it.
It's like true.
Whatever's happening right now, it's fine.
It's
not,
everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's no storm that never stops as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. We wish you all the best in your journey, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening, everyone.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys next week.